Hello and welcome to everybody to the Beyond Grad Show. This one is going to be a solo episode where it is going to be a ask me anything kind of an episode. Over the last few weeks, I've been collecting a lot of mailbag questions. At the same time, I know that there might be a live audience out there who might want to ask a question during this episode. So I welcome everybody. I know that in live sessions there's often like a 1 minute lag or so. So if you are joining me live, please enter in the comment section of whichever platform you're joining from. So if you're joining from LinkedIn or YouTube, go into the comment section and just write hi and it will show up in my feed. So feel free to bring in questions about job search, LinkedIn, and side business or anything else that comes your way. I also have a list of questions that people have asked me that I will bring up. So let's get going. I am going to present my screen here. Let's see how it comes up. Nice. I like the look. I'm just going to change it this way. Uh, Trying to find the right view for people. Okay. All right. So I'm just going to take on questions that have been asked to me during this entire process and during the last few weeks or so. Again, if whenever you join in live, just put a comment in the uh, put a comment in the platform that you're joining me from. So LinkedIn or YouTube, wherever you are, add a comment and I'll take a question up. All right. Let's see if you are able to see the screen. All right. Yeah, I think this should be easier to see. So one of the questions that I got was, hey, Avinash, candidates who have a referral, does it give any added advantage? What can a candidate do to reduce the probability of the resume falling into the black hole? This is awesome. I'm just, again, maybe slightly adjusting things here. There is a way to present the screen. I'm just trying to look for it. Maybe this one. Okay. All right. So the question is about how referrals matter and how not to avoid your black resume going into the black hole. So the number one thing is that when a company is looking to hire people, is going to try to get people fast because they want to get out of this hiring process because it's just more time and resources used. So it costs the company the longer it takes to hire somebody. So the company is looking to make a hire fast from a trusted source. So after talking to a lot of recruiters, especially recruiters in big tech, here's the preference of people that they interview or get into the process quickly. It is internal candidates followed by people who have referrals. In those referrals, obviously, if there is somebody who's doing a lot of work behind the scenes to get you your visibility as a referee in the process, they can be an advocate in the workplace where they try and go and give the resume to the hiring manager or talk to the recruiters on your behalf. There can be many instances of how this can happen. The point being that they are going to look at people who have referrals next. So, yes, the referrals matter quite a bit. Then they are going to look at sources of cold applications. So that might be their careers page, the ATS platform that they are looking for, or essentially A lot of ATS platforms also are job boards in a way, like Greenhouse or Workday. So they are looking at those resources. They're also looking at LinkedIn. Essentially, that's the preference that they are giving. Internal candidates, referred candidates, candidates who have relationships in the company. Then there are cold applications. So if you can go up the ladder as much as you can, that will help you get interviews quickly. The second question is, how do you avoid your resume not getting into the black hole? The obvious answer is, have somebody who can help your resume get visibility. It might mean that you have a relationship at the target company that help you get your resume onto the desk of the hiring manager. It might mean sometimes knowing the hiring manager or knowing the recruiter, reaching out to them directly on LinkedIn. That can get you visibility. The other option is potentially building a brand in such a way that you are having a lot of conversations with your target market, like hiring managers, peers at your target companies organically, and that lets you kind of sidestep this entire resume falling into the black hole process. Unfortunately, if you are applying online, there is a high chance of your resume falling into the black hole, in which case you want to try and see if you can build relationships and build a brand to get more visibility on what you do. All right, going to the next question. I expressed my interest to work in a certain role, my qualifications, and a short call to connect and express my fit to recruiters, hiring managers, or maybe some engineering managers. After accepting my connection request, they do not reply. How can I follow up to reiterate and not make it repetitive, annoying, being considerate of their time? So this is a common question, which is, I send a connection request to somebody. They are maybe a potential hiring manager or somebody at a target company, a recruiter. And as soon as they accept my connection request, nothing happens after that. If you are reaching out to somebody cold, you only get 2 to 3 chances of doing that, of reaching out. Now, it matters what your initial message is. If you are asking people to do more work, then the amount of work you put to write this message is going to fall on deaf ears. So, if you are reaching out to somebody and saying, hey, do you have a position at your company that will be fit for me? And I get these messages day in, day out. I am not going to do the work to tell you, okay, these kinds of roles are fit. Now, if there is a hiring manager or recruiter who has said that they are actively hiring, in that case, if you reach out to them cold via a connection message or a DM, you want to make sure that you share how you fit exactly to the role. So, talk to the minimum qualifications, share how many years of experience you have, one or two, 1 to 3, I would say, impact metrics of how you have built things, taken action, and created impact in the past work that you have done that fit really well to the job position. So the initial message matters a lot. Now, if your initial message was good and you still don't hear back anything, busy people appreciate you following up. So in a week's time, just say, hey, following up on this message, you accepted my connection request. If you have the bandwidth, I would really appreciate you responding back to the request I have made. After this, if they don't respond, your chances are very less. There are still a few ways to get around. If they are a creator on the platform, like they write posts, they share articles, you want to make sure that you show up and become a known property in their engagements or in their comments. Comments are an underrated way to add value to a person and build that relationship. If they are not a creator, you might be able to get one or two other chances, but you'll have to give them some breathing room. You'll have to share an interesting article, a interesting newsletter piece, or an interesting podcast with them in the common topic that you and they share, something that they care about, something that they've hired for in the past, and give them your top three insights from whatever you're sharing. That could be a good way to kind of bring it back to notice, or that can be a good way of making sure that they reconnect with you. Finally, if you see them share anything in the public domain. Maybe they were at a speaking engagement, or maybe they were uh, talking about a paper, technical paper at a conference. You can use that to kind of just highlight, saying, "Hey, I saw this interesting thing you've done. Very cool to see you take action. Here was my takeaway, or here's what I'm learning from this process." Share that. You can always say no response necessary, give people an out, and that also increases your chance of hearing back from them. All right, I think I have a question from the live. That's awesome. I am going to change back the scene. uh, Maybe again, still new to this platform, so I think this is what I need to do here. All right, perfect. So we have a question here by Rashmi. Thanks, Rashmi, for asking the question. What can help me communicate better as an applicant to the hiring manager at the time of the application process? If, as an applicant, I'm in a different location, but I'm willing to relocate to the new role's location, I think the best thing is if they are a hiring manager who have raised their hand and said, "Hey, I'm hiring for this role," write a really succinct but specific message and say, "Hey, here's the number of years of experience I have that I can bring to this role, which is a minimum qualification. And here are one to three impact metrics or impact stories that showcase that I have past experience that will be really good for this role." So I have a script about this on my LinkedIn page. If you even if you go to Google and search for Varun Negandhi recruiter outreach message, so Varun Negandhi recruiter outreach message, you should see a LinkedIn post with a script that you can use, and in there it talks about how to reach out to the hiring manager. Again, the key here is one to three specific impact stories that match the role and are from your past experience. Another way to communicate better is to build a relationship with the hiring manager. Now, this is not a quick thing to do, it is more long term, where you have to build that relationship over time by either showing up in the comments, or again, uh, working with them to see how you can add more value to the projects that they are doing. That way, you also get a visibility and you can share, "Hey, let's say I'm a product manager who lives in Seattle, and you are talking to somebody who is in California." You can always talk about how you can exchange product management ideas. And when a new job opening opens up, you can directly reach out to the hiring manager because you have some kind of relationship to share that you are willing to relocate for this role. Thanks so much for that question, Rashmi. Anybody else who's following live, if you have questions, just make sure to add the question in the comment section of the platform. So either on LinkedIn or on YouTube. Rashmi, if you're watching this and have further questions, feel free to add them while I take other questions that I was asked in the past. All right. I'm going to go back to my screen, making sure I can reach it. Okay. This is a different view again. All right. I think I'm going to keep it this way. All right. So the next one, I think this is a repeating question at this point, which is, how do you build a meaningful connection with a person in on LinkedIn at your target company. If they are a creator, celebrate, because this is your way to say, okay, if they write a post, I'm going to show up in the comment section with a valuable comment. They might be somebody who creates regularly. In that case, you can set an alarm for when they generally create. If they do not create regularly, but it's a bit more sporadic, make sure you hit the double bell icon on their profile so that you get a notification anytime they post, and you can show up and you can uh, be a participant in what they are trying to do. That will help you build a relationship with them, and it will go a long way. Now, if they are not a creator, then another interesting way you can build a connection is by starting a series of your own. So, let's say you are a mechanical engineer looking to get a role in the automotive industry. You can start a series where you interview experts, and the interview part can be as simple as you asking them 2 to 3 specific questions via DMs, waiting for them to respond, and bringing that response into a simple article. So it can be as low lift as a simple article and conversations through DMs. That's another way, which I call the pod strategy. Basically, you're creating kind of a podcast. You don't need to have like a big audio video podcast like I do, but you can have a simple one where you're just asking questions via DMs. The final way to build a meaningful relationship is to get a warm introduction. By warm introduction, I mean maybe there's a connection you share and they introduce you to this person. A warm intro can also be essentially you having something really common with this person. So this can be your alum. You can be part of a certification program together. You can be part of a specific group in your industry. Similar companies can also be sometimes warm connections. Essentially, you want to use warm connections to start building a relationship. Again, you can lead by saying, "Hey, I have 2 to 3 specific questions about how you made decisions in your career. I would love to ask you those questions either via phone or via email or via DMs here." Make it easy for them to say yes. Always also give them an out by saying, "Hey, if this is a busy time right now, no need to respond. Just love what you're doing and see your career as something that is inspiring." That's Those are 3 ways that I shared. One is if they are a creator, just comment. That is the best way. The second, if they are not a creator, you can use the pod strategy. And the third one is go with a warm connection, a warm introduction, and ask specific questions that can be only asked to them. That is a good way to add value as well. All right. I see another live question here. All right. 1 second. Again, allow me a couple seconds to turn off my screen share. So I'm going to read it from here. Navyam. Navyam. Sorry if I'm not getting your name correctly, but interesting name. Varun, thanks for your time. Lately, I've noticed that HR screenings are becoming more technical. And even after answering those questions, I'm often told they'll get back to me, but end up with a rejection. I love your advice on how to navigate and perform better in these early stage technical screens. Very cool. So, what is happening nowadays is that if they feel that they have a pool of really good candidates, and recruiters are generally known to ask screening questions like, "Tell me about yourself. Why do you want to work here? Why this particular role? Are you open to relocation? Do you need any immigration?" All of those kinds of questions. Now they are also asking some technical questions to make sure they can separate the candidates. Now, if you are getting rejection after rejection, first it needs a little bit of an introspection. So you need to think about what are all the questions that have been asked in the latest screening rounds. So there will be some combination of heavy behavioral, or what I call you defining questions, like why do you want a job, why do you want this role, how are you qualified for this role, are you open, you the you defining questions. Those will be one part of it. The technical questions might be another part of it, as simple as, do you have experience in SQL? Tell me the last project that you use SQL in. Those kinds of questions. Or do you know this particular programming language? Have you used AI to prototype anything lately? Those can be into branched into technical questions. And then there are some kind of knockout questions as well. A knockout question such as, hey, this is our salary band. Are you comfortable with this? Or we are not looking to sponsor anybody right now. Do you require sponsorship? Those are kind of knockout questions. See the ratio of questions you have been asked, and what do you need more work in? So, if you are a fit for the role, you should have questions, or you should have answers for all the typical questions that can be asked in the screening. I have a list of 10 questions that people ask. You can again Google it, say Varun Negandhi um, interview questions, and you'll get a post, a LinkedIn post, which has a list of questions that are asked in the screening rounds, including all the frameworks that you can use to answer those questions. So I don't just provide the questions, but you will get answers as well. Make sure you are practicing your delivery. One part is the content, and you definitely want to improve the interview answer content. The other part is the delivery. So you want to do mock sessions, something as simple as talking in front of a mirror, or recording yourself delivering those answers and rewatching the recording, which is one of the most painful things. Like sometimes I have to rewatch these sessions and I'm like, ugh. But that's where growth occurs, when it comes to how you communicate what you communicate. Now, Sham, if you wait, maybe I'm again sorry if I'm butchering my name, but I'm just going to say NG. If you have any more specific information for me, then that will help. As far as technical questions, something as simple as a AI prompt as to, okay, HRs are screening for more technical questions. These are the 5 technical questions I've been asked. What are the other 10 that could be asked in such a situation? And practicing those technical questions would also help you clear those screening rounds. All right. Another question I have here is from Mitali. Hi, Mitali. Nice to see you. I'm working as people operations in Home Depot from 4 years, but now I am looking forward for full-time HR role. What 2 to 3 things you would do if you were in my position to land a job in HR in 30 to 90 days? Interesting. I would do 3 things. So, number one is career narrative. You say you already have 4 years of experience, which means you've done a lot of projects. It is our duty to showcase the project in the best way we can, like position yourself strongly. How do you do that? You do that by using the why, how, what framework. So let's say in the past 4 years, you've done 5 projects. For each of your project, I'm going to answer this question. Why? So why did the company do this project? So what was the technical and what was the business objective of the project? How did I execute on it? What were the steps I used? What were the tools I used? What were the frameworks I used? And what was the impact of my execution? What were the improvement in the technical metrics that we were tracking? What was the improvement on the qualitative metrics? What were the improvement on the business metrics? Now you'll have a why, how, what narrative. Aim for anywhere between 1 to 2 pages for each project. So you have 10 pages of narrative. This becomes your working document for improving your resume, improving your interview answers, building a portfolio if you want to, And this working document can help you improve the output of AI as well if you're using AI in the process to help you with your resume, interview answers, etc. That's number one. Number two, I would look at your entire network and start reactivating it. So this can be first connections that you know very well, first connections who are acquaintances, and then people at the target industry. So there are target company. So there are three circles. So circle number one, first connections that you know really well, first connections that you are acquaintances, and then second connections, third connections, connections at target companies that you don't know immediately. I want you to start talking to them about their career, especially people who inspire you in each of those circles. Circle number one is the easiest to reach. So you start there and just talk to people about how they made career decisions. That will help you rebuild relationships, explain why you are looking to switch right now. That would be the second thing. And the third thing would be practicing your interviewing. A lot of times when you've not interviewed for a really long time, as soon as you get an interview, you are in a sticky wicket where you're trying to kind of do a crash course almost of your interviewing skills. So make sure that you are practicing your interviewing. I have a ton of resources. By the way, all these recruiter scripts, resume frameworks, interview answers, you can find all of this on my website, beyondgrad.com. Just go there, put your email, confirm your email once you get a confirmation email in your inbox. And when you do that, you will get access to a Google Drive where I have neatly organized all my best resources into appropriate folders, and that will be very helpful for you as well. So those would be my three things, Mitali. Awesome. I'm glad that I'm getting a lot of questions. If people have repeat questions, I would try to see help people who are showing up live. That would be my first preference. So quick follow up, 100% agreed with you. They are more of how did you implement statistical analysis, Bayesian inference. In this case, Navya, I know I'm shortening your name. In this case, what I would do is think about the question behind the question. Okay, why are they asking me these technical questions? They are asking me these technical questions to see whether one, I am comfortable conversing those technical frameworks and I understand that I have done projects with those. So I not only have the theoretical knowledge, but also the practical knowledge. So to answer those questions, especially in this type of a format, I would try to make sure that I'm giving them examples from work and projects that I have done where these concepts were used. So you hit two birds with one stone. You share that you already have the knowledge, and you also share that you already have the experience. Yeah. So I think here's what you shared, right? Which is, are they expecting me to explain how I use the algorithm, or why did I use the algorithm, or just wondering what's their expectation out of this? I think behind the scenes, they're trying to make sure, especially in the screening rounds, they are make want to make sure that you're confident with these techniques and whether you have experience to do it. So I would at the first give them a 60-second answer. I would say, here's an example of how I've used this, a short why, how, what. So my company was trying to do X. To make sure that we are able to do it, I utilize XGBoost and random forest to do Y because it was important. That resulted in a Z impact on the project. Do you want me to go deeper into how specifically I use these techniques? If they say yes, then it means that okay, they want you to explain how you use the algorithm further. That could be a way of giving them a quick 60-second answer and then seeing if they want you to dive deeper. All right, another question. Is it advisable to use AI during the application process? Of course, it is advisable to use AI. AI is very helpful to go from blank page to B plus output. But it is very bad to go from B plus to an A plus output because the entire application process is dependent on how well you can communicate your specific experience. Like you have to be a big part of the application process. But these LLMs are not trained on your data. They just don't have the information about what specifically you did in the project, what was your impact of the project. So I would say a great way to help you leverage AI is to share your career narrative using the Why, How, What project. I would take your five most impactful projects and create a Why, How, What. This can be a two-pager uh, talking about why the company did the project, technical and business reasons. How did I execute on it? So, what were the steps, tools, frameworks I used? Any interesting challenges you solved? And then finally, what was the impact of the project? So, were you, again, technical impact and qualitative impact? You want to make sure that you provide that narrative. This is almost like a RAG model for an LLM or an AI tool because that helps you give specific information that you want the LLM to leverage. This is your way of doing that. If you are able to do that, your output will be much better and it will also look or sound better and not very common because nowadays a lot of people are using AI. Hope that answers the question. If there is anything else more specific, then please let me know. Awesome. I'm loving the energy so far. If you again are joining us live, please ask questions in the comment section of the platform that you're coming from. So if you're on YouTube, go and ask a question in the comment section. It will show up on here. If it is LinkedIn, then again, same thing. Comment section, it will show up immediately and I'll bring it up. All right, let me keep the momentum going. I'm going to go back to my screen and see if there are other interesting questions that I can bring up. At about the 45-minute mark, the last 15 minutes or so, I'm going to focus on some of the LinkedIn questions that I have gotten lately. So let me hide this, hide message, and then go to my different scene. Okay, cool. Okay. Nivedita asks, I have 6 years of experience in consulting. Now I'm trying to get into companies in my desired roles of business plus data. How do I position myself that makes me stand out? A great way to stand out when you are pivoting from one type of a role to another is to share projects that take advantage of both those experiences. So in this case, if you've been consulting a specific type of company in a specific sector, let's say I am consulting automotive companies. That's where a lot of my background comes from. I'm consulting with automotive companies in Michigan, and now I'm looking to kind of pivot into a role which is more data focused. Then I would try to solve business problems using data of the automotive industry. So this can be projects like how dealerships can do X differently based on like data that you see from dealerships. Again, I think how do you find all these data is always a question, but there is enough data available out there. There are data sets on Kaggle. I know I had Karun once, who is a data scientist from Walmart. He has there's an episode with him. You can check that out, and he shares a couple different places that you can look for data. You want to see how you can build projects that take advantage of both. That will be your way to stand out. If you're not going to do that, you are going to be competing with every other, let's say, data analyst or business analyst that do not have that specialized knowledge. So I would look at problem statements in the niche that you are working on. Taking that same example, I can look at things from the dealership side in the automotive market. I can look at things from the supply chain side. So a lot of batteries have rare materials that are coming from Africa? How is that constraining the supply chain? I would take a look at data about different technologies in the automotive industry, right? There are some gas engines, there are some hybrid vehicles, there are some electric vehicles. I'll try to build a project based on something to do with trends in that, because it's been a quite dynamic world where people companies moved from engine technology to hybrid to electric vehicle, and it almost sounds like it's coming back to the hybrid or the engine side. So those can be really interesting examples. In your case, it might be something different that you have a specific knowledge for, but I wanted to kind of showcase how I would take niche knowledge and build projects around it to lead with my best foot forward. Cool. Let's go on to the next one. Yash mentions, I have a resume that I think is quite good, concise, crisp, and relevant. Still, I'm not getting many interviews, even with referrals and personally reaching out to hiring managers. When I hear this, two things come to mind. So let's assume that they are getting really good referrals and they are reaching out to hiring managers and getting in their inbox. Two things can happen. One, they might feel that their resume is good, but it might not be. So a lot of times, the framework I use for resumes is interview winning resumes are rare. RARE. R for readable. They should be readable first before anything else. The second is applicable. How applicable are you to the role that I'm hiring for and the roles that you're applying for? And then finally, remarkable, that is the RE, remarkable, is how are you showcasing your past experience? If you are showcasing it in a very flat way, nobody has the time to build bridges in the background. They are going to get enough people who are doing a really good job at communicating themselves. They are going to select that pool and they are going to move on. Again, remember, companies are trying to make hiring decisions quickly, because a lot of time wasted on that front is just lost opportunity and more cost that the company has to bear. So make it easy for them. So in this case, I would say either the resume is not as good as it can be, or it is not as applicable as it can be for the roles this person is applying for. So this might mean that you need to apply for roles that you're applicable to, or showcase work, projects, portfolios that you have done to bridge the gap between what your past experience is and where you want to go next. All right. Whoever is joining us live, if you have any questions, feel free to add it in the comment section of the platform. Next question. Why do recruiters these days tend to ghost candidates instead of being upfront about whether they are rejected or moving forward? This is an interesting one, and it will require me to share what the other side of this equation looks like, the recruiting side, the hiring manager side. There are many reasons why you might be ghosted. Now, if you've given multiple rounds of interviews and then you are ghosted by the company, I feel that is completely unfair. And maybe it is a good thing that you are not working at that company, because if you've gone through multiple rounds, you should get an indication of whether they've selected you or not. In some cases, they might not be able to give you feedback. I remember a ex Meta recruiter I interviewed called Marina. Marina mentioned how she might be more open to give feedback over the phone versus over email because of internal policies. On the phone, she can be slightly more candid. So if you have a relationship with a recruiter, you should not be ghosted if you've given multiple rounds of interviews. If you are ghosted, it might mean that things have changed behind the scenes, where either they are not hiring for that role anymore, or the requisition is on pause. So there is not a lot of clarity that the hiring manager can give to the recruiter. So recruiter cannot give you the clarity. In which case, I think if you don't hear from a company in 2 weeks, it's almost always better to move on and continue with your job search process. If they come back, great, but assume that the chances are very low or none, and then just move forward. If they are ghosting you in the initial stages, then it is a tool problem or it is a bandwidth problem. Another big tech recruiter I spoke to named Shreya, I asked her point blank in one of these podcast interviews is how many roles have you applied? How many roles have you hired for at one point? And she mentioned anywhere that I've hired anywhere from 4 roles at one point, which are 4 very niche roles. So they required a lot of her time. As and then the other side of the spectrum was 20 roles. So imagine if a recruiter is trying to hire for 20 roles, they might have a bandwidth issue to get back to people. They might also have a tool issue. They might not have great tools to kind of bulk message people who they are not moving forward into the hiring round. So there are many things behind the scenes about why you are ghosted in the process. People write posts about being ghosted and they get like people write posts that, oh, candidates should not get ghosted, and they get thousands and thousands of likes, but they are not good for you. If you are a job seeker, assume that you will be ghosted in the process. I know it sucks to hear that. Assume you will be ghosted in the process by some company, by some other company. Just have a plan of what you do. Like in my case, when I was looking for roles, my plan was if I don't hear back from a company in 2 weeks, I'm going to move forward. I'm going to go for other roles and try to see if I can land opportunities that way. That's one way. The other way is also to build a relationship with the recruiter to kind of get more answers. All right. I have a question here live. I am going to again turn off that screen. Let's see the question. Hey, Karun is here. So Karun is the Karun here that I was talking about. Awesome episode for data scientists. You definitely want to check it out. Just go to Varun Negandhi Beyond Grad YouTube or my LinkedIn. Go to my events section or on YouTube. Go to the live section and you will find an episode that I did with Karun. Karun asked, during the interview process, I know knowing the answer isn't the only thing that matter. I need to make sure I'm a culture fit. How do you suggest building this or showcasing this? This is a very esoteric thing, the whole culture fit. The best way that I have helped my mentees do that is to see what kind of culture does this company talk about in using two avenues. One, on their company page, and two, in their communications internally with their employees. So, one, you can go to their company website and see the kind of mission and values that they talk about. Let's say they have 3 to 4 values. Make sure that those values become buckets for which you have stories. So let's say a value is uh, continuous improvement. Then you want a story from your past experience where you help create a product or a process that continuously improved something, a part of the problem that you were trying to solve. This way, you are able to subtly share a story in the interview process and highlight, here's how I continuously improve the process. I know that is one of the core values that you have in the organization. So I wanted to make sure that I shared this story with you. That's one way of doing this. The other way of doing this is just to talk to people at target companies. Talk to them and understand what kind of things does this company value. Again, make those as buckets and have a story ready for each of those buckets because you will be asked for an example. A lot of times you are put on the spot during these bar raise interview or culture rounds. At that point, you have to go in with your proactivity, your gut, your instincts, your training of all the work that you have done behind the scenes, and use that to answer. You can take a pause sometimes by asking them questions. So let's say you're stumped, ask them questions about, okay, can you share more about whether you will be looking at this problem from X angle or Y angle? And let them elaborate on that question a bit more. That will give you some time to think about your answer. All right. Hope that answers that question, Karun. Thank you for asking. Remy, hey Remy, nice to see you again. Remy asks, how can I tailor my resume for different domains when most of my experience is in a specific domain? That is always going to be a tough one. You will be positioned most strongly to apply for a role in your specific domain. There is just no two ways about it. Now, let me give you an example from my life. I used to be an automotive engineer all my life, but there was a entrepreneur that I was really fond of, and they had an opportunity that opened up in their team, and I just wanted to apply. I knew it was a long shot, but I just wanted to apply. The way I tailored my resume to speak to them is to show that I had experience outside of my automotive engineering domain. So in this case, I highlighted my experience with Beyond Grad. Doing a project on the side helps you create work that fits the role that you're applying to. So in this case, they were looking for a coach in their entrepreneurship program. I was able to use my Beyond Grad experience to showcase how I have coached 23 professionals one on one in helping them land a new job, uh, translating to about 1.3 million in new offers. That's one way to do it. The second way, I could talk about the products I have created, like the job lead program, the interviewing cohorts, etc., etc. The point being, if you are trying to go for different domains and you don't have any specific experience, you might have to build more specific experience for that domain. If you do not have that bandwidth or that time, then you have to try and get relationships in your target industry where you are able to showcase acumen for that role while leveraging on your past different domain experience. So I could be, let's say, talk about my 1D simulation experience. Let me use a different example. Let's say I could talk about my software engineering experience in the finance world, talk about the type of products that I have created and how I can replicate that for the, let's say, an e-commerce industry. I can sometimes create pitches for them. So that's another way, Remy, which is you might not be able to tailor your resume, but you might be able to create a custom pitch for that company using your past experience. So if you're going for you were in telecom, but let's say now you are going into um, big tech, for example, then you would use your experience and say, hey, here's your company, you're trying to do this. Here's how I would bring my experience and do these three strategies to help you solve the problems that you're looking to solve with this role. That's what I would do is create a custom pitch as, and you can upload it as a cover letter or you can send it directly to whoever you are chatting with at that company. All right. Hope that helps answer that question, Remy. What I'm going to do next is if you still have a job search question, feel free to put that in the comment section. I'm going to switch slightly over to some LinkedIn questions that I've also gotten lately to make sure that I respond to those. So if you still have questions about job search or LinkedIn, feel free to add it here. I'm going to move on back to the other questions that I had. Let me open the LinkedIn. Okay. All right, Madan, who's a good friend. Thanks for asking the question, Madan. He talked about three areas people need to concentrate more on LinkedIn for more opportunities to come their way. I remember talking to him, and I would say that if you are somebody who wants who wants to look for opportunities in your next job, so if you want to just progress in the corporate world, then here are three things I would do. I would comment on creators who write and they either speak about your target role or they speak about your target company or they are from the target company. I would look at people who are creating content that way and start commenting and showing up in their feeds and build a relationship with them. Number two would be I would start creating content. Like if you aren't creating content so far and if you want more opportunities, I would start creating content for number one, people to who are a couple steps behind you, just start helping them out by what you do, what you have learned, and sharing that with them. So you are talking to not just your peers, but people who are going to follow you. Another way to write content and have more opportunities come to you is to speak at your level or up level. So talk about new things that are happening in your industry. So if you're a product manager, you can talk about how AI is coming into the picture and you can share how AI is helping PRD, how AI is helping do A/B tests. So you want to kind of talk about how the trends are changing, how the industry is moving, what is the next kind of forefront of your industry, and that helps you get more opportunities as well. So the three things are commenting on people who write in your niche or are from your target company, create content to help people who are a younger version of you, and then create content to see where your industry is moving next. So advancement of your industry. Okay. All right. Remy says, thanks for framing the answer so nicely, Varun. Will definitely implement it. Awesome. All right. I'm going to continue on the LinkedIn front. Hey, I see. I think Remy has come in twice here, one live and one when she shared this question before. Do you target a specific time frame of the day for posting content that works best for visibility and reach? Nowadays, there's not like a exact time. I chose a time where my peers were hanging out. So a lot of my peers were hanging out at 9 a.m. Eastern. The reason why I did that is I was able to show up in their comment section. They were able to show up in my comment section. So at least the post got a little bit of a boost when I posted. Things have changed recently, and I am myself experimenting with new times. But the main answer I want to give here is to hit the publish button. That matters a lot more than the time. I think naturally you will start fitting into a time that feels right for you. The last thing I would say is look at who you are writing for and what time are they active. So I have write for 9 to 5 professionals in the US. So for me, 9 a.m. Eastern is a perfect time. If you are writing for professionals in India or if you're writing for entrepreneurs in Europe, I would look at a different time to post based on where my target market also is. So to answer to summarize, basically, is one, hitting the publish button is more important than anything else. Two, you can look at when your peers are active, when your network is active, so that you can kind of comment in each other's posts to give some initial boost. And the third one will be where your target market is and when are they active. Those would be the three things to look for. Sriram, asked me this question. Is it the visibility that helped you build connections? Meaning, when you were starting, did you ever get a response from those people? It is tough when you do not have offline, online credibility to reach out to people, other people who have online credibility. It's just something that is difficult to do, but it is not impossible. Let me give you specific examples. I have a friend named Jeff Su. Some of you might know. I would say acquaintance slash friend, and they were at 1 million YouTube subscribers. The other person is a. I'm giving you examples of creators who have much more online credibility and offline credibility than me. Then there was another person named Austin Belsack who had 1 million subscribers on LinkedIn. Then there is this author, children's book author, Emmy Award winner, a person called Kabir Sehgal, who I really enjoyed reading his children books to my children. All of these people were ahead in of me either in online or offline credibility space. The way I was able to build a relationship with them is what I have preached in this live session, which is I showed up in their comments. Every day that they would write posts, I would show up in their comments with a valuable connection, valuable comment, valuable addition, a summarization, my own take on whatever they are sharing. That led to me getting my connection request accepted when not a lot of people were able to do that. With Jeff, I've been able to have a couple of coffee chats with him. He's given me amazing advice, and I wish to contribute more and more to what he's been doing. So, if you have online credibility, doors do open more. So now with let's say 80,000 followers, if I reach out to people, doors open more easily. A lot of people have built a connection with me. So a lot of people now who work at in big tech, um, some of the most leading organizations in the US or globally, they have sent me a connection request because of my work on LinkedIn. So when I reach out to them to, let's say, ask for time for my mentees, so whoever I'm helping out, maybe I want to make an introduction, my conversion rate for getting my mentees a call with my connections has been 50%. Now, if it was me who was wanting their time, it would be somewhere between 60 to 70%. So having online credibility definitely matters, but it's not the be all end all. If you do not have a lot of online credibility, you can still show up and build connections and get people to build a relationship with you. Awesome. Hope that helps. I am going to wind up after one of these questions, the one of the next questions here. But if you are live and if you have final few questions for me, I'll make sure to answer those because I want to thank you for being live here with me. So if you have final few questions, let me know, and then I'll move on to the one that I have. Ishan asks, how can I be a full-time content creator and how to get post ideas to post? To be a full-time content creator, you have to hit the publish button the first time, the 10th time, the 100th time, the 1000th time. That is the journey to first be a content creator. There is just no other way out. Now, there is one slight way out, which is if you are somebody who works in the US or anywhere in the world and have a really good salary, you can hire people to help you in this process, but you still have to be the one hitting the publish button. So let me start by reiterating that to be a content creator, you have to hit the publish button the first time, the 10th time, the 100th time, the 1000th time. Now, how do you get post ideas? It is a muscle that you have to train. Recently, I went on a trip to San Francisco and I met up with a bunch of other creators. And it was so interesting that throughout the day, if I would ask any of the content creators there, give me 5 posts that you can write from what we've experienced this day, they would be able to give you 5 posts that would do decently in 5 minutes. In five, because now the muscle is developed. But in the beginning, your muscle isn't developed, so it becomes a little hard to get content ideas. A very easy two-step way, or two ways you can get ideas is: one, look inwards. So what is everything you had to learn to get to the point where you are, and just talk to a younger version of you. It could be a younger version by 2 years, by 5 years, by 10 years, whatever the case is. Just look inwards to think about all the things you had to do from a technical point of view to get to where you are, what you had to learn about the industry that you are in, what did you have to learn about the tools that you are using. It can be as simple as presentation tools or Excel or whatever the case is. There is somebody out there who does not know what you know, and you can start by doing just looking inwards. You can look outwards. So let's say you want to write in the niche of travel. You can look at all the travel creators out there and a methodical reverse engineering. So this is not just me scrolling through their posts. This is me looking at how they are talking about X topic. What are the topics they are writing about? What topics seem to be more popular than the others? If you reverse engineer, let's say 10 profiles that are in your niche, even if they are slightly adjacent to your niche, you will get easily 100 ideas from that reverse engineering process. So look inwards, talk to your younger self, look externally, see how people are talking about that particular topic, learn from that, add your own twist to it, and hit publish. Ultimately, hitting publish the first time, 10 time, 100 time, 1000 time is how you become a full-time content creator. Even if you still, there are many people I know who have jobs and create content on the side consistently day in, day out. So you don't need to be a full in your own thing to become a content creator. Just hit the publish button. All right. On that note, I'm going to pause here. There were many more questions that were asked that I had a stock of that I wasn't able to bring up, but I will be doing an AMA session like this pretty soon. Thank you so much for whoever who showed up live. For whoever watching this recording, you can get access to my best resources completely free by going to beyondgrad.com. And on the homepage, you'll find an email form to put in your email and get access to my Google Drive. I have all the resources. Make sure to confirm your email because I want to avoid spammers and bots. And the other thing is, if you are looking for a job in the US, your next job in the US, uh, preferably something with a total compensation of over $200,000, I have helped 23 people one on one improve their lives by getting better jobs in the last 2 years. And you can go to beyondgrad.com/job/leap. If you go to my website, you'll find that program as well. See what that program is about. Apply for that if you are interested in working with me. You can even send me an email or a LinkedIn DM, no email credit required, and just ask me about the program and we can chat there. It was great talking to everybody here. This is something that excites me a lot, and I'm happy that I'm able to do this for all of you and for myself as well. Thank you.